merrily bold Sir Robin rode forth from Camelot. He was not afraid to die. Oh, brave Sir...
Hey everybody, this is my first unscripted video, so we're going off the record here. This is my friend Tim, and we just both saw Jack the Giant Slayer, so we're going to take the opportunity to talk about it, give you our impressions. The very opening scene has Jack as a kid being told the story of the legend of the giants, and that was probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the movie for me. It reminded me of the animated sequence from Hellboy 2 when they talk about the legend of the elves or the Golden Army or whatever. So that part was fun.
I mean, I like the beginning too. Anytime you have sort of like a fairy tale movie or a fantasy movie, it really helps to have sort of like the opening scene like set like the framework of like the world and everything. Mm-hmm. Most of us know like the whole giant thing.
We know the backstory,
but like in this movie's universe, it like really like sort of set the rules straight.
One thing I noticed was that none of the so-called peasant people looked like they were peasants at all. They had perfectly coiffed hair and manicured nails. Like there's not a spot of dirt on them.
Who's that then? I don't know. Must be a king. Why? He hasn't got shit all over him.
Part of the reason why I don't like digital filmmaking so much is everything's very clean.
Yeah, it was so clear cut. Everything was pristine. It didn't have any grit whatsoever.
Yeah, like I personally like Darren Aronofsky shooting in like 9mm and blowing it up 35 to make it look really sort of like the film stock itself is really grainy, and it just makes the movie more
down to earth.
Yeah, just something about the aesthetic that like, you know, I'm attracted to.
Jack's character and his father and his uncle are all farmers, and I think it was only his uncle who had like the mismatched teeth with the grit inside his...
His dad had a really nicely trimmed
Yes, it was perfect. There was like, it didn't even like, you'd expect from that time it to flow down because they don't have clippers, but no, it's like expert, I don't know. How they transition to him getting the beans, he has to go to this main city and trade the horse and the cart, like in the story. But they change it up so that he actually meets the princess who is in disguise, like, roaming around the city.
Like Aladdin.
Aladdin! I was thinking of Aladdin, too! It's, again, the story of the princess who is unhappy with her life and doesn't want to be forced into a marriage with the evil advisor and the young peasant boy who has the heart of gold, and they eventually... It's Aladdin without a magic genie. And the one part that I was really upset with was when they meet at a little... like carnival show thing, and all the performers are acting out the legend that we heard at the beginning, and one of the main cast member for this carnival is Warwick Davis. Warwick Davis, one of the coolest actors in Hollywood, who's been in he was in
Leprechaun.
Was he in Willow? I think he was in Willow.
Oh yeah, he was in Willow. That was an actual leading role like this.
And you expect him like, wow, this is going to be awesome. Warwick Davis is in this movie. I really wanted to see him climb the beanstalk and confront the giants. Do like a Empire Strikes Back, Yoda in the backpack kind of thing, him climbing up the beanstalk. But no, he's in the movie for like literally 5 minutes, just that scene.
The producers definitely didn't think anyone would really give a shit that Warwick Davis was in it, otherwise he would have been featured in it more. Overall, I liked the casting. Mm-hmm. Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah. He was Beast in the latest X-Men movie.
And he was just in Warm Bodies.
Yes.
So he's sort of a rising star.
Mm-hmm. He did a good job.
Like he's a charismatic. He's got very boyish features. You know,
very British.
Yes. He didn't really have that much to work with in this movie. Stanley Tucci. He's a great character actor. Mm-hmm. Once again, like, he really didn't have much to work with. This character had a little personality, at least.
He was relishing the role, I guess.
Yeah, and I think Ewan McGregor, who probably had the least to work with overall, he doesn't really do anything, but he liked the role, and
I actually liked his character here more. I think this is more in line with what he should have been in the Star Wars prequels, like lively and energetic and always on the go, and excited for the adventure and always taking things in stride.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I wanted Obi-Wan to be.
Well, yeah, he certainly had a charisma in this movie that Obi-Wan didn't have.
Instead of spouting boring expository dialogue.
Ewan's hair in this movie is great.
Oh my goodness.
Probably the best part of the movie.
How much hair gel did they use in that? It had like a little point the entire time to match. It reminded me of Carrie Elwes in the Robin Hood Men in Tights with the little point, the chin point that was like perpendicular to one another. Another thing I noticed was that whenever something falls off of the beanstalk into like the regular world, I know it's a PG-13 movie, but they show bodies. They are literally falling from hundreds, if not thousands of feet in the air. They would be mush. They would not have an actual body laying on the ground. It would just be splattered organs everywhere.
That was something else we were talking about, how it's PG-13, but we're not really sure who the demographic is.
They are very, it seems, hesitant to actually show any graphic violence. So like when we mentioned like people do get their heads ripped off and stuff, it always happens off screen, so we see the reaction shot of the characters. But then at one point, one of the main bad guys literally gets his head squeezed into a bloody pulp, and the eyeballs actually pop out at you into the audience. So it's like they don't know what they want to be. Yeah. It straddles the line between PG and PG-13, so we don't think that like teens obviously wouldn't like it that much because it's not gritty enough.
Yeah, like groups of teens. Like maybe like if they go with the family or with like a little brother or something. But like a group of teens probably wouldn't be that interested.
It's too generic and formulaic, I think, for them to enjoy it. And then for younger kids, some parts of it are too scary because they do show in the Giant's Land like human skulls and people getting
like their heads bitten off and stuff. So it's not for children. My favorite aspect of the movie, I think there's like a final battle scene at the end, and I thought it was pretty good. Like I thought the scope like was bigger than I expected from it. Like there's definitely like like they have the scene of them riding on their horses away from the giants.
And Jack's horse magically is faster than everyone else's horse, even though he is like he's 3 miles behind them. They're ahead of him.
All that horse does is probably plow fields.
Yeah, he's a stupid little farm horse that may just out gallop King's herd or whatever.
And
plot device.
That scene also it really resembled the Battle of Pelennor.
That's what I was thinking of too. The giant elephant attack
kicking
against
the horses.
The Rohirrim.
And even when they get to the kingdom, it's definitely shaped like Minas Tirith.
And they were chucking like the giant rocks or trees into the city, kind of like they did in that.
But that's okay. I'm not saying that they're ripping it off or anything. No. But that was a great scene in Return of the King. So like to resemble a great film like that is probably not a bad idea, especially when it's about a fairy tale and
you have to have some epicness in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that really worked. I think it made it interesting at least.
They set up the mythology at the beginning that the giants come down and the only way they're able to defeat them is they forge this crown out of the heart of a giant, and it has like some magical abilities. It's basically just a plot device, and they use the crown to send the giants back up to their kingdom so they could never attack Earth again. But I was thinking at that point, why didn't they? Because it's established that the wearer of the crown becomes their king, their like leader, so they have to do anything that the person who's wearing the crown says because, again, the magical abilities is like part of them. So why didn't the person wearing the crown order them to all commit suicide? Or like jump in a spike or something. I don't know. Like it just seems counterintuitive to send them back up and then be in fear that they're going to come down again at some point. Like just order them to kill themselves. And on that note, how do they reproduce? We never see a single female giant. It's all dudes with ugly faces.
I don't know. I didn't really think about that. They probably just reproduce magically. It like rains them or something, or they grow out of the ground.
Another thing that I found really strange was at a certain point the king realizes that the giants could possibly come down the beanstalk and attack the kingdom, so he makes the sacrificial decision to have all his men start cutting down the beanstalk. And eventually it gets to the point where they're actually making progress, and this thing starts falling, and at no point did anyone think to move all of their troops back, because this thing is like an octopus that has arms flailing everywhere. I think it was just an excuse for them to throw in as many Wilhelm screams as possible. People were just one other aspect I was wondering if they would show, which unfortunately they didn't, from the original story when Jack goes up to the giant's kingdom and the giant has the the golden harp, the singing harp, which they actually show at one point, although it's not sentient, it doesn't talk or anything. I wondered where was the goose who lays the golden eggs, because that's a huge part of the story, the original story at least.
It's true. When I saw the harp, all I thought about was how the harp had like breasts and like really like defined nipples, and I was thinking like, here we go again, like who is this for?
The ending, I was expecting a little bit more, like they obviously, the two leads end up together and they have a happy life, but what they explain what happens to the crown, I thought was one of the dumbest endings. They should have left it in the medieval world and have it like sequestered away somewhere and left it alone, but of course they have to drag it into the modern age, which makes absolutely no sense because we would kick giants' asses with the technology we have now anyway. So
I don't know, let's test them.
When they come back down with their knives and pitchforks, we'll just show up with nukes and...
Yeah, that... Well, like I was talking about when, like, you sort of want to, like, put the, like, a fantasy movie in, like, a window, almost. And they started off with, like, the kid, with, like, telling them the story. So, like, don't end it, like, in a completely different...
time period.
Yeah, like, that kills, like, the
mood, the atmosphere of the movie.
Yeah, so, like, all of a sudden, it was like, wait, this was history.
It actually happened! And we're waiting for them to return.
Yeah, like we should be worried, like...
We saw it in 3D, and they're like, I don't think the 3D really adds anything. No. Like, I've never been a fan of the 3D technology. But there are certain scenes that they intentionally shot in a way so it would be 3D. Like, they have rain falling at you, so the camera's looking up at certain points, and there's debris that flies at the screen.
I don't know if it was shot in 3D. I'm pretty sure.
I have no idea.
Like, basically, unless you're like a big hitter director, usually they just post-convert it. Because, like, someone like Scorsese or Jackson, like, they actually know what they're doing, and they could probably handle shooting it in 3D, but other than that, I think Bryan Singer would have to...
It's just a marketing gimmick to get more of your money, so...
That's
just see it in a normal format.
They really should have, like, figured out, I think, what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not... It made $28 million, I think, its first weekend, which isn't horrible.
Yeah. But look at what else is out this week, like... 21 and over, and that stupid new Exorcist movie, so it doesn't have a lot of competition.
Yeah, right, and it's during March, so you know it's not a terrible debut. I'm sure it'll make money overseas.
It'll make its money back for sure.
But you know, when you're pouring $200 million into a production, I think you should have a general idea of like who it's for. You know. So,
develop your target market audience before you start doing that. I think that's the moral.
Yeah, but I mean, what do I know? I'm not a bigwig at Warner Brothers. Is that who made this movie? I don't.
You don't regularly indulge in cocaine, so what do you know? I would just view this as like a slow intro to the summer movie season as we get into April and May and that actual good movies start coming out. So this is like a little... this is a tease for us.
The first couple weeks of March. And it was weird because like usually it's like March 5th, but like we had a March 1st and a March 8th. And we get Oz on Friday. And that's definitely like the tentpole like March movie. Last year was John Carter, which did do so well.
Overall, I would say it is... a decent movie. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10 if I had to rate it on a scale.
It is entertaining, I think, especially towards the end. I think it like picks up
the action scenes are fun.
So it's definitely better than some other films that are out right now. So you know, I wouldn't see it in 3D though.
No.
And I would definitely go to a matinee.
He was not in the least bit scared to be mashed into a pulp, or to have his eyes gouged out and his elbows broken, to have his kneecap split and his body burned away, and his limbs all hacked and mangled, brace or robin.